Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes.
Hello again, everyone. Glad you can join us for the Team Engagement Podcast. We always appreciate you joining us. And today we have a very special guest all the way from Dallas, Texas. This is Anthony Piccolo, and he is the founder and CEO of Performance Scoring. Anthony, thank you so much for taking time to join us on the podcast today. And what would you like the audience to know about performance scoring?
Well, Sean, thanks for having me. We're excited to be here with you guys. And performance scoring is a web-based performance management and meeting management tool. Can't really talk about performance without talking about project and project management and everything that comes around that. And so we developed a platform. It's really kind of an all-in-one suite to better manage your employee engagement, performance management, project management, and then the meetings around all of those things. So we do this from school districts in schools with students all the way into private and public industry, and works in 143 languages. So we're really kind of drink the juice on engagement and collaboration and try to create a space for trust and transparency. So excited to be here.
Fantastic. Did I hear correctly? 143 languages?
Yeah, you can thank technology for that. You know, it's funny, when we started this, we're like, hey, look, we really need this thing. We're in Texas, right? So we really need this thing to work in Spanish. But as it turns out, translator tools, and thanks to the geniuses out in Google and Microsoft, have made it really easy for us to translate and collaborate in real time in multiple languages. It's really a beautiful thing. So
well, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Well done. Definitely, especially being a business consultant myself, I'm very fond of the topic of employee engagement and how we can help people stay excited about working wherever they're working in whatever role they're in. And so I applaud what you're doing, and certainly appreciate everything that you're doing to try and help folks accomplish that goal. So that's fantastic.
Thanks.
All right, let's get started with our questions. Anthony, our first question, as you've been building your business, is there a challenge that you guys have overcome that you're especially proud of?
Oh gosh, there's a million challenges we've overcome or pivoted. We're good at navigating around if we can't just jump over. Yeah. We're probably like a lot of businesses. We got started before COVID in 2018. Was really when the idea got born, and not being from technology and starting a technology company, you could imagine all of the challenges that could come around, really just the ignorance of just not knowing how to do this or that. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of is when COVID happened, it was one of those like, and like I said, this is probably a shared experience for most, but it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? And it was really a moment for us to reevaluate and reimagine what we were about. As it turned out, that was an inflection point that put us on the path to success, really helped us really dive into, what we do best, which is meet people in the moment, give them a voice, and elevate that voice within an organization. And we're really proud that we were able to use what was a real tough time and make that into, our turn for the better, our turn for the future. So that was a big one for us.
Yeah, that is big. Certainly, as we continue to kind of move past COVID and get a little more perspective and hindsight, a lot of people are experiencing the same kind of, a sense of accomplishment, I guess, that they, first of all, survived COVID, and second of all, that there's some good things that came out of it. So there's some common bonds between a lot of businesses now, reflecting back on COVID. But yeah, I love that you were able to figure out a way to make it happen. That's part of it. Kind of leads very nicely into the next question, because
Sure.
There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of innovation that's required in these major situations like a pandemic, which we recognize come around once in a generation. But nonetheless, this kind of leads into question number 2. How can leaders help to foster and nurture creativity within their team or company?
Well, one, I think it's about creating an environment of transparency where people can be themselves. Creativity needs space to be wrong. creativity needs space to try, to try things that, on first blush to somebody might sound like ridiculous, right? And you've got to have a safe space to be able to do that. And then you need to be able to, creativity doesn't happen well in a vacuum, right? Like it needs, I don't know how your ideas have ever been. We have a kind of a running joke here that it didn't start awesome. Nothing starts awesome, right? And so while we try to foster a safe space and try to create that actually inside of our app platform for our customers and our clients, right? We need a place to execute our creativity in a transparent fashion, and then be able to elevate and escalate and aggregate that across an organization, so people can high five and go, yeah, rah rah, but also create the mindset that, hey, this is a space that we want to imagine a new future. We want to imagine a better way. We want to not just imagine it, we want to create it tangibly. We want to show people, and we want to gather with one another and recognize those achievements. Which brings me to this whole other point, which creativity without recognition for the specialness or the uniqueness of it, it really kind of silences that creativity, right? When we see creative excellence, we need to get everybody involved. We need to create those shout outs, those kudos, those moments of recognition, which, by the way, shocker, leads to better engagement, so that's kind of my take on it. Generally, I can go on forever. That's why I had to end it that way.
Well, I love it. And you said something really important that, in my view at least, and I completely agree with you, that first idea is rarely, in fact, I would be so bold to say never, but I'll pull it back just a little bit and say rarely is that first idea the perfect one. It requires some polishing, some refinement. There's so much to that creative process. I love how you described it. But I completely agree. That was a big takeaway for me on that, is that, hey, it can't just be that first iteration. Oh, we're done. It requires constant revision.
And I think I guess maybe it's different for a solo artist who needs to go into their zone, by themselves. But I actually believe creativity does not exist well without collaboration. I think that alliteration, creativity and collaboration, I think it just they marry well, and they're really kind of symbiotic, while not symbiotic. They require one another to do either well, I think.
Great word to use, because I completely agree. That's a great way to describe it. Fantastic. All right. Question number 3. Anthony, how can leaders help the members of the team or the employees in the company to trust each other better?
Well, this is actually a real special space for us, because this is really where our business, our application, our platform and methodology really kind of converge in this space. Trust requires transparency. It requires honesty, and it requires feedback. And so I think that you need to create and foster an environment where it's ubiquitous, where you walk into one room or one office, whether it's in the United States or in Hong Kong, it's same feeling of security, right? And we built a platform that gives people a voice. And that's another thing is really we need our unique voices to be heard, and it needs to be associated with the individual or the group or the team. So much in some kind of a universal experience, especially in the lowly engaged, low performing individuals, is, hey, I had a great idea, or I had this thing, and then somebody said it was theirs, or somebody else took credit, right? And so we need a space where, look, I can put my creative thought out there, good or bad, and it's associated with me. If it's bad, it's just another step in the iteration of awesome. Right. And if it's great, it's actually attributed to me, because you know what? I had a lot of bad ideas. I had a lot of things that I didn't do well as an employee. And I need this thing. I did all those things, maybe okay, maybe satisfactory, maybe poorly, but it led me to this, and my name needs to be attached to it. And so I think there's a lot of technology out there that can help foster that, right? Because we don't all have the same personality traits, right? Some of us aren't raw. Some of us aren't, screaming across the room going, hey, my one of my employees, John, or, Jesse or Jamie just did this, right? So having something that's a part of the work sphere, I think can also contribute to that in a helpful way.
Oh, great comments. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge when somebody feels kind of squashed in their creativity, and then that damages the trust. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, great comments. Great comments. All right, question number 4. Now, I'm sure that this has never happened to you, Anthony, but is there, it's either business or life, is there a perceived failure, I guess, that you turned into a win?
Well, I'd say I have to pick one probably recently. It just happens all the time. I don't believe success comes without constant failure. How do you learn a new direction when you're driving? By getting stuck, by getting in traffic, right? And so I think a lot of what in my personal experience, I had a consulting company before this. One of the things that we would never do is build software. We helped companies find software off the shelf that might need a little modification, some macros or something, and kind of maybe come around their problem and help solution it. And I had a really poor experience in trying to build something for a client about 15 years ago. And as it turns out, the experience of that gave me and granted, it was a failure. It was an actual failure, but it gave me enough confidence where when performance scoring, and it's kind of a concept of, feedback in the moment, escalated throughout an organization. When that came about, I'd failed so much, and I had thought about it for so long, and I knew exactly kind of where I failed. I at least had the confidence to know I'm not going to fail that way. I'll find a whole new way to fail, but I'm going to take a real good go. And it's really, failure is just you only fail. It's like there's some really great boxing cliche or something, but it's this idea you don't really get knocked out until you don't stand back up, right? So I think part of this is learning how to take our perceived failures and not actualize them by laying down. So like I said, the failures have always been kind of a launch point. They should be like I'm getting back up, I'm wiping it off, and I'm not gonna move that way again.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing that. I love that you embraced and owned, if you will, the out and out failure, because I love that you also said I'm never going to fail that way again. And that's really, to me, what it comes down to is recognizing, okay, this didn't work. We're not going to let that happen again. How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? We recognize that, okay, that takes us one step, and we still may have some lessons to learn there.
That's right.
That's the key. And I love that you brought that out. All right, well, Anthony, our last question for the podcast today. Tell us a little bit about your first job.
Well, I grew up, had a single mom. It kind of wasn't the easiest road, and I took a loan at 11 years old, almost 12, to get some lawn equipment, and I was always kind of I didn't know I was into marketing. My degree's in international politics and diplomacy, so I guess that's kind of like marketing too. But no, I took a loan to start a lawn business, and I'll tell you what, that paid. That was my first experience being an entrepreneur, and it really taught me so much, so many life lessons going into university. It gave me confidence that I could go up to a stranger and say, hey, can I help you with this thing? It might be their grass, but it was something, and I really just found a joy in meeting people where they were and seeing them grow and thrive, and I think it's for me, that was one of those indelible, experiences that kind of made me into the man that, I am today. So I enjoyed, I'd say I enjoyed it. We're in Texas, and today is 107 degrees. So there's no part of me that wants to mow lawn. I've grown. Now I'll just sit at a computer.
I'm dying to go out and mow the lawn. I'm in Utah, and we're enjoying really, really nice weather. It's mid 80s and very
oh my
clear.
Gosh.
So it's very pleasant out there. And I'm trying to find about an hour, hour and a half where I can go out and mow the lawn because it's getting a little tall. So I'm like, oh, I want to get out there. But I personally love mowing the lawn. I've been doing it since probably on the same age you were in the early teens there. That was started with the chore around the house. That was just my assignment, but then it quickly evolved to helping the neighbors and doing some of those things. But I've always enjoyed it. So it's been fun. All right. Anthony, this has been great. Thank you so much for taking
I appreciate your time
on the podcast. Oh, you're very welcome. How can people find you?
They can look us up, performancescoring.com, info@performancescoring.com. Anthony Piccolo, I'm available on LinkedIn. You can catch me that way. Love to sit down with people like you, Sean, and talk about engagement and performance management and how to conduct better meetings, how to really get the most action, most effectiveness out of our time. So I'd love to chat with you. Check out our website, see us on LinkedIn, YouTube. We're all over.
Fantastic. Thanks again. And thanks to everyone for taking time to join us. As always, we appreciate you participating in whatever way you can. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.
This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.